Hi, and welcome to the Bruce Channel. I'm Bruce, and it has been quite a week, hasn't it? I was away for part of it, but here we go. And first off, as I said last week, because I had been away and had moved up the deadline, indeed my info regarding the Dallas shooting was wrong. Turns out there was just one shooter, so at my deadline, the info of having been a couple of snipers was wrong. Sadly, the info about the 5 police officers turned out to not be wrong. And I spoke last week about the need for empathy, trying to understand another's perspective. So I was gratified when at the memorial service on Tuesday, former President George W. Bush said pretty much the same thing.
At our best, we practice empathy, imagining ourselves in the lives and circumstances of others. This is the bridge across our nation's deepest divisions. And it's not merely a matter of tolerance, but of learning from the struggles and stories of our fellow citizens and finding our better selves in the process. At our best, we honor the image of God we see in one another. We recognize that we are brothers and sisters, sharing the same brief moment on earth and owing each other the loyalty of our shared humanity.
And it is true, black, white, Asian, Native American, rich, poor, male, female, gay, straight, Republican, Democrat, Muslim, Jew, Christian, something in between, nothing at all. Exaggerating our differences will never solve anything. Hating each other will never, ever bring about anything good. But if we work together, there is nothing we can't accomplish. And of course, now the news at the end of the week out of France is heartbreaking. Bastille Day is July 14th, the beginning of the French Revolution, 1789. It's there, 4th of July, on the southeast coast of France, on the Mediterranean, near the Italian border. One of the loveliest tourist towns in the world, Nice. On July 14th, people were out celebrating, just as we do stateside on the 4th of July. They were watching the fireworks. They were watching all over in France. But in Nice, just after the grand finale, people were making their way back to the cars along the promenade, and doubtless, a Tunisian-born Frenchman intentionally drove a large truck into crowds of people. Initial reports, 84 people killed, hundreds injured, some critically and some still accounted for. French officials are holding and questioning 3 people, but the Islamic State has taken credit for it. At least 2 Americans are known to be among those killed. I've got friends who right now, as I record this, are in Switzerland, but on this trip they've been in London, and they have been in France, they've been in the Netherlands, they've been in Germany's Black Forest. I have other friends who will be leaving for a European vacation in exactly 1 week. So that's the choice we face, isn't it? If we become too afraid to live our lives, that's when terrorism wins. If we are too terrified to do what we want to do, expect to do, then by definition, they've won. Which is one of the reasons George W. Bush and I talk about empathy. Folks, we have to get along. We can't keep putting hate on each other. We are on this small spaceship called Earth. So certainly in this country, we've got to get along. All right, last month, all eyes were on Cleveland, and they won the NBA championship and celebrated it with a magnificent downtown parade. Well, all eyes go back to Cleveland this week, beginning Monday, because although Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey announced that they were retiring elephants from the circus, the GOP elephants and the circus heads to Cleveland for their convention. 2 things we know this week we didn't know last week. The Anyone But Trump movement has officially failed to get the rules written that they wanted. Understand, all previous convention language, precedent notwithstanding, all previous conventions have no influence on current conventions. The rules have to be written from scratch each time. The Anyone But Trumpers had hoped to rule that delegates wouldn't have to be bound to vote as their respective primaries. Well, that didn't happen. They lost. So that does it for that. And then on Friday, Trump's voice for Veep was announced by a tweet. Indiana's Governor Mike Pence, so we'll see how that goes down. Pence had initially endorsed Ted Cruz. But this is a crazy year. I'm not predicting this, but I would not be shocked. I think nothing can be shocking if in, say, September, Donald Trump tries to fire Mike Pence from the ticket. I don't expect it. But it would be impossible to be shocked. Still, I was surprised that he announced on Friday, who's it going to be? Everybody plays that game, but it's something that a candidate can do to hold on to interest. John McCain didn't announce his choice of Sarah Palin until the convention. Ronald Reagan, halfway through the convention, still hadn't decided. For a while, it seemed he would choose former President Gerald Ford as his running mate. Anyway, as far as the Dems, no surprise, we saw Bernie Sanders officially and enthusiastically endorse Hillary Clinton. He's been given a speaker's role one of the nights, and whom she picks for Veep is also a topic with lots of names, but she has a luxury. The Democratic convention is not this week, it is next week. So knowing that Mike Pence is the GOP's choice for Veep, she can now make a choice based not only on credentials, and that's important because, 9 times vice presidents have had to take the oath of office due to the president's death or resignation. But she gets to weigh that and make a political decision about who helps get the electoral votes, who best offsets Mike Pence. When you think about it, that advantage gives me greater reason to think may indeed try to pull a switcheroo.
Hey, let me tell you about my book, Shrink. Or wait, I can let others do it.
All right, so the week after the Democratic convention, attention turns to Rio de Janeiro. Bob Costas will host the Olympics. Al Michaels will be there in the thick of it with him. But Rio's in trouble. The mayor of Rio has said so. Crime is really high. They don't have the funds to pay for enough police. The nearby water still smells like sewage. And there will be rowers in that water. And given that there are people who like to blow things up and blow people up, in 1972, terrorists focused on the Israeli athletes, but now they're much more indiscriminate, aren't they? And of course, the Zika virus is still in the mosquitoes. Golf is in the Olympics for the first time in, 100 years? And the top 4 golfers in the world, Jason Day, Jordan Spieth, Dustin Johnson, and Rory McIlroy, have all said, wow, it'd be really great, but no, we're not going because of the Zika. For Rio. Okay, so a week ago, I was talking with one of my former students. He's now a senior at university, and he said he'd been caught up with just the greatest app ever. Maybe he said game. Now, he previously had told me that before he discovered music in his misspent youth, he played a lot of video games, even to the point of almost having carpal tunnel syndrome. So over a beer, he explained the game, using real-time GPS to know your whereabouts. Pokemon Go. I told him, well, you better explain Pokemon, never mind the Go. So, all right, it's a game, and you play on your smartphone or tablet, I guess. I get that. Some years ago, it was Angry Birds, right? I tried it. Personally, I prefer video games of sports. Basketball, football, baseball, golf, whether it's on Wii or Nintendo. Anyway, my friend further explained that Pokemon, the word comes from Pocket Monster. The idea is to collect a monster and put it in your pocket or your closet or Anyway, the Pokemon Go simply uses GPS so that now you're in the real world and there might be a Pokemon for you to catch, like maybe 50 yards from where you are. I think that's when I suggested, let's just have another beer because I want to change the subject. But then wham, bam, literally I was slammed with seriality. Seriality is when you've never heard this word before and then you hear it later today and then again tomorrow. Well, so a week ago I'd never heard of Pokemon Go until my friend explained it. And by Tuesday, I think I'd encountered 4 or 5, maybe 6 articles all about Pokemon Go. Not all favorable either. I'm not sure who decides where these monsters are, but if I understand correctly, some may be in cemeteries. And yeah, I can understand how some would find that disrespectful. Another story quoted a driver who stopped on the interstate, not along the side, but in a driving lane to try and capture one. The quote was something like, look, if you want it all, you got to be willing to risk it all. I admit being baffled. All right, so if you were a House of Cards viewer, the American version starring Kevin Spacey, you may recall this. If not, some background. Spacey plays a ruthless, stop-at-nothing politician, the House Whip, when the story begins in season 1. He's the House Whip, and he's from the town of Gaffney, South Carolina, a real place. In 1981, they needed a water tower, and this is what they built. It's a water tower. It holds 1 million gallons of water. Its official name is the Peachoid, but it's usually just called the Peach. Its address is on Peachoid Road, which runs exactly next to Interstate 85. That's the connecting interstate between Charlotte and Atlanta. You may know that Georgia is called the Peach State. It said so right on their license tags. And if you're a baseball historian, you would know that included in the first class, the inaugural class ever inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, Ty Cobb. Ty Cobb was a hard-fighting, bitter bastard. He was from Georgia, and his nickname was the Georgia Peach. Those facts aside, South Carolina produces more peaches than Georgia. In fact, Cherokee County, the county where Gaffney is, Cherokee County has by itself produced more peaches than the entire state of Georgia. So the good people of Gaffney, South Carolina, saw fit to let everyone passing by, and you can see it for miles, that AM, it's really South Carolina that is the real peach state. I bring that up because I saw the peach this week. Drove right along by it. I was in South Carolina for a table read. Now, I signed a non-disclosure agreement, so obviously I can't give away secrets, but I can tell you a bit and hope to pique your curiosity. This is public. This is on the web. So, as you can see, 2 Marines are back home. One of them gets back into the mixed martial arts world he left behind years ago. So, at the table read, which doesn't necessarily lead to a role, but might, we all read the script. It takes about as long to do as it might to watch the movie. So here are some picks. We're all reading our parts. And while I cannot tell you more of the plot, the role I was reading for was a great role. Think Burgess Meredith in the original Rocky.
Come on, where's your guts?
What's your problem, Mick?
My problem?
Yeah.
You got a problem, kid. You got a ticker problem. What's the matter? You got nothing left inside, huh? Because you're training like a damn bum, you know that?
Bum.
A bum!
So it wouldn't be until fall. And you never know, but I'd be pleased. Oh, and you can learn more by going to Submission the Film, all one word, submissionthefilm.com, and you can see, or you can go to their Facebook page, Submission Movie Facebook page. And in fact, that's the preferred method because once you're there, you could click like, you know. I'd appreciate it. And I appreciate you. And I'd appreciate it if your upcoming week turns out to be the best one you've ever had.
Mick.